Hey, Josh from Bernal Cutlery. Wanted to show you a little bit about how to fit a saya on your Japanese knife today. All right, so for today's saya fitting, we're gonna use, but of course, a knife, a saya, one of our USA wide ebony pins. We'll be using this retractable ballpoint pen, maybe this little utility knife, and definitely the drill and this reamer and a scrap piece of wood to do our work on. All right, so one thing to note is that just as knife geometries are not really universal, it's hard to find a universal saya that will fit every knife. So not every santoku will fit in its, Santoku saya, 210 gyuto, etc. So it really does help to have both of them on hand to fit together to make sure that there's a couple of prerequisites. The first most important thing is that it's not too small. So you don't want the saya to touch the tip of the knife inside. So if I were setting the knife inside here and it stopped, boink, and the tip was contacting the end of the saya, that's no go. So we don't want that happening. That can break the tip of the knife off. And you want to make sure there's a little bit of play in there so that the edge itself isn't wedging up against the inside of the saya. Different sayas will have a different size aperture as well, and various knives will have, especially hand-forged knives, will have different widths of their neck as well. So if the width of the neck is a little bit thicker than the aperture of the saya, it is possible to take a little utility knife and to carve this little area here to accommodate the neck. However, if this part of the blade does not fit, if right away it wedges in there, that's not going to work either. Okay, so now that we've established that the saya will work with this knife, we're going to figure out where the pin needs to be drilled in to give us a nice secure fit. Ideally, it will fit so that the blade is nice and snug in there and doesn't move around. However, if there's a little give, that's okay too. That's where softwood sayas are really useful. Hardwood sayas can damage your knives, especially in transport if the knife is moving around, bumping against the inside rim of the saya. So we're going to set the blade inside the saya and note where the ferrule and spine of the saya line up. Here it's pretty flush. Sometimes there will be a little gap like that. If there is, I like to hold with my thumb and note where the ferrule should go in relation to the end of the spine. So here it lines up pretty flat. So we'll set that down. Make sure this is in the same position as when the knife was in there. And I like to use these ballpoint pens to mark because this is roughly the diameter of the pin, so that when I set this against the crook of the blade here, and bring down a little dot, it's going to bring the dot enough further away so that that's going to be a good center point to drill in. Before we go much further, you want to make sure that you have selected the right size drill bit for the saya pin that you'll be using. Again, nothing is universal with sayas, and the pins certainly aren't. So this is a little workaround that we've found here, and these are dependable, inexpensive pins. For a long time, we had a hard time getting the same size pin all the time from Japan, but Japanese ones are great too. The width of the drill bit should be a little bit less than the width of your pin, so kind of line it up and look at it. You can use calipers and look at it as well. It should be a little bit thicker than the end of your saya pin. Saya pins are tapered, so we want to make sure that this here is at least the same width. All right, so let's drill our pin. If you have a little drill press, that helps. Keep it a little straighter, but to the best of your ability, keep your drill straight up and down. All right. Once again, using a scrap piece of wood underneath because we do want to drill through all the way. And let's test it out. So there's our pin, and it goes in just a little bit. But again, we didn't use too big of a drill bit, so that's a great sign. Now the reamer is going to come in and widen out the hole. As you can see, this has a strong taper to it as well. So we want one side to be where the head of the pin goes. And I'm not doing too much. I'm kind of doing a little less than I think I need to. This is going to widen over time, so you don't necessarily want to set it in all the way up to the head of the pin. We want a little bit coming out of this backside here. Most of the time, you can twist off a pin. However, if it does get stuck, you can set it on a counter and then push. Be mindful of not breaking your saya by pushing in the middle. Push on the spine where it's reinforced. And actually, this is a really good orientation here, so I'm happy with this. I'm not going to do any more work with this tool. All right, our moment of truth. All right, hey, that's great. Not a lot of wiggle. I lucked out. It is possible that you will find that you have not properly done it. And if you miss and you see a little bit of the knife protruding through the hole, obviously that's not going to work, but it can be remedied, provided that we have a little bit of wiggle room to insert the knife further into the saya that we weren't up against the tip. We can use a little saw or a utility blade to carve away a tiny bit of this part of the saya to make a little more room if that blade only came partially in and we need to make some room for it to scoot more further down the saya. We can do that by carving this area here. This time though, I don't need to do that. So there it is. Hopefully that helped a little bit, and look forward to doing some more videos and showing you how we do stuff around here. And thanks again. Check us out on BernalCutlery.com or come by our San Francisco shop at 766 Valencia Street. All right, thank you.